Hi, welcome to my channel, Zen and Fit. My name is Nikki, and in today's video, I'm going to be discussing navigating a world full of biases, especially if you're a Black woman. But this topic can also be relevant to other communities as well, whoever's listening to this, whether you're a male or female. But before I jump into the video, if you could please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button, and also share this video with anyone you know of who may be into the types of content that I post on here. I typically post once a week, and a lot of my content is centered on mental health, lifestyle topics, and also health and wellness. I did a video a while back talking about the differences between implicit and explicit bias. And I just wanted to revisit that really quick because I think that this is relevant to this particular video. So explicit bias is a type of bias where you are fully aware of your own biases towards individuals. Let's say, for example, maybe you carry a bias towards individuals living with disabilities, or maybe you have a bias towards Black Americans, and you're fully aware of your bias. You don't try to deny it. Whereas implicit bias are biases that we aren't even aware that we carry or have. And let's say, for example, let's use a case scenario. Let's say you grew up in a household where you heard some of your distant relatives make negative comments about Black Americans. And so as an adult, you don't even notice it, but you have like a bias towards Black Americans when it comes to maybe interacting with Black Americans, whether you're in the work environment, or let's say you're going to college and you're working on a class project and some of your group members happen to be Black, and a lot of the times you're not even taking in what your fellow Black classmates are saying when it comes to your project because of your implicit bias that you have, and that was influenced way back when you were a young child. And so that's the differences between implicit and explicit. Explicit, you're fully aware of your bias, and implicit, you're not. But it's influencing how you interact with individuals. Your day-to-day life is being influenced by that implicit bias. Now, we all may have experienced some form of biases in society, whether it's due to your race, your gender, maybe you have a disability, and the list goes on and on and on. But for Black women especially, we can experience a certain set of biases, especially when it comes to beauty standards, based on your appearance. And so it can be very difficult navigating in a world where people judge you based upon your exterior and how you look. And so, for example, let's say you have a Black American woman, and maybe some of her male counterparts, whether they're Black or white or whatever the case is, they may have certain stereotypes of her, have certain negative judgments on her just because she's a Black female. And a lot of this has to do with implicit bias, because when you look at the history, not only in the United States, but even just internationally, you had the history of slavery, you had the history of colonization, and because of that, there's a lot of hatred, self-hate, even too, when it comes to darker skin tones. And think about when you look back in history, and all across the board, a lot of times people equated darkness to something negative, to something bad. And as a result, when you associate human beings who have a darker skin tone, and I'm saying in comparison to a white skin tone, anything opposite of that, of course, would be considered darker, right? And so when you look at that, usually people with darker skin are equated to something negative because of the negative connotations to the word dark. So for some of you who have been exploring the dating world, maybe you have encountered implicit bias from male counterparts or whatever your sexual orientation is. You may have noticed biases, the way people treat you. Maybe they're not as tolerant of you or as patient with you when you're in the dating scene. And some of this, again, has to do with implicit bias because our minds have been trained to think negatively of people who have more melanated skin. And whether we want to admit it or not, it is there. It's very prevalent, and it's prevalent all across the world. It's not just only in the United States. And this doesn't just occur among Black women. Other women who are non-Caucasian can experience this as well. But it appears that Black women experience this on a more severe level just because overall, Black women typically have more melanated skin in comparison to other female counterparts. Doesn't mean that all Black women are a monolith and we all have the same exact skin tones, but overall, within our community, in comparison to non-Black women, we typically have more melanated skin. So as a result, Black women can be encountering these biases more frequently. But you also can see this happening among other races of women as well who are non-Caucasian. Like, for example, if any of you have viewed Married at First Sight, season 18, even when it came to Juan and Carla, or even in particular David, he voiced how he was pretty much attracted to Caucasian women. And you have to think about, where does some of that come from? It's definitely possible that a lot of this came from environmental influences, societal norms of what society determines is beautiful and what is not. And usually dark skin is not equated to beauty. Just think about it for a minute. For some of you who grew up on Disney movies, in particular Snow White, and one of the most common statements that's said in that movie is, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And a lot of times, if you look it up or Google it, the fairest of them all is usually equating that to beauty. So again, fair skin is usually equated to lighter skin, right? And so even in just a Disney movie, you see how people can be influenced, just especially if you're a young child watching that. It becomes normalized for you that beauty is fair skin. And the complete opposite of that would be someone who is not attractive because they don't have fair skin. And even with the other couple, Juan, I think he had vocalized to Carla in the very beginning that he typically dates Caucasian women. And it's not to say, because we're not mind readers, we don't know exactly how people are thinking, but that could have influenced the relationship dynamic when it came to Juan not really being attracted to Carla. Even though he's seen her as a friend, he didn't see anything beyond that. And could it have been due to possible implicit bias? There is a significant possibility of that. That can't be ignored or denied. So, and it's not to just point fingers at these particular individuals on a show, it's just to illustrate a point of how implicit bias influences us on a daily basis, even when it comes to romantic pursuits. And I just want to clarify, this is not a gender wars video. This is more so looking deeper beneath the surface at what causes people to be drawn to a particular individual or to treat an individual a certain way. And a lot of it can be based off of biases that we have, that we developed at a very young age, at maybe age 2 or 3, being exposed to either relatives or just outside society influencing us and telling us what is beautiful, what is deemed worthy. And so a lot of times we internalize that and we continue down that path as adults in practicing what we've been taught at a very young age. So for anyone who is listening to this video, especially if you are a Black woman, just remembering that you only can control yourself. You can't control society. You can't control people's biases. There may be people around you who are open and willing to listen as you're sharing information with them on biases. But overall, it's that own person's journey to want to embrace and learn and make adjustments in their own life of their biases. You can't do that for them. And so just focusing on yourself, being around people who are going to be supportive of you, your overall physical and mental well-being, friends, family members, significant others, whoever it is in your life, ensuring that they fully support and care about you completely, and just living your best life to the fullest, enjoying life as much as you can, because we all know life is hard to navigate, but mitigating where you can, decreasing some negativity that's around you where you can, and just continuing to live. That's all you can do. So I hope you found value with this video. I look forward to reading any comments or feedback you have. And I may do some additional videos on this topic in the future. We'll see. But until next time, if you could do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button, and take care.